Yeah. So we're looking at this next stage or part, which really does finalize this basic practice that we're building, or giving ourselves tools to be a bit more confident with the practice. This week's session is about attitude, dedication, and reflection, and I'll talk through those in a minute. But just to review, so we're all on the same page, we looked initially at our posture. This is the first step in meditation, is finding a comfortable posture. We look at setting our intention and motivation, our intention being what we are intending to do in the practice, what direction are we going in. We're going to be doing maybe a 20-minute mindfulness of the breath meditation. And the reason we do that is so we know what we're doing. If we just sit there and say, I'm going to meditate, then we can get pulled around in all different directions. If we have an intention, at least we know what we're meant to be doing. Then we look at our motivation, and the motivation is the why. This is very, very personal, and it might change on a daily basis, but we just drop in that question at the start of a meditation. Why am I doing this today? What's bringing me here? And that can be quite revealing in terms of maybe what our expectations might be. Maybe what we're telling ourselves, some of the insights that can come just from understanding why we're here. Then there's the intention, posture, intention, motivation. Then we looked at settling the mind with the breath. Now, this is very much about coming out of gross mental activity. This is the being here, doing this, doing that, jumping around mind. Of course, we will experience that to some extent through the practice, depending on where our level of arousal or stress is, depending on what's going on in our lives. But it's an attempt to just rein some of that in. And we do that by focusing and balancing on the breath. So this is about making the inhale and the exhale nice and even. And we do that throughout the beginning of the practice for about 5 minutes. And that's just to help the nervous system to relax, and that helps the mind to calm down a little bit. We will still obviously have thoughts. There's no stopping that, but it helps just to bring some of those hyperactive thoughts down a little bit to some degree. And we looked at resting, and this was last week. We looked at, before that was grounding. We look at coming into the body from settling. So we settle with the breath and we come into the body, and we get a better sense of the feeling and the sensations of our body in the space that we're in, feeling our connection with the ground. And this helps to cultivate a greater sense of presence, helping us to feel more here and now. And once we've been through the grounding, that might take the form of a body scan. We then start to rest. And this is really where we stop meditating and we just start noticing. We start to watch what's happening. And it doesn't take long before the mind wanders into thinking. It'll have some kind of distraction. It'll be thinking about something that's happened, la-di-da-da. We will lose our focus off the breath, and then we're encouraged to come back to the breath. And we're encouraged to hold the breath in a light way, which is slightly different than what we're doing when we're settling the breath, which is focused, like quite when we use the analogy of the torchlight, it's a focused torch beam on the breath. Whereas this is much more diffuse light. This is holding the breath with light hands, almost just receiving the breath. And this helps us to remain open to what else is happening, because we can be aware of the breath and maybe aware of something that's happening in the body, aware of the breath and aware of how our mind is, aware of how our emotions are. But we're doing so in a way that we're present with that experience. And then, as we know, the rug gets pulled from under our feet a little bit, and then we're away into a sort of more in-depth thinking where we're not actually conscious and aware that we're thinking, we're just habitually thinking. And this happens, and before we know it, we recognize, oh, yeah, I was meditating. So we come back to the breath. So that's the recap. That's what we're building on today, because the attitude we bring to the practice is really important. And not only that, how we close the practice is really important. So the three parts today is the attitude. And this is, what attitude am I bringing to the practice? The dedication is, how do we close the practice? And you'll often notice that I finish it with some kind of recognition of the benefits of mindfulness and how we might extend those to people that we know and love, and maybe to other people in the world. And really, it's the recognition in that moment of how, by taking responsibility for our wellness, how that can impact other people quite tangibly. If we're less reactive, then we're giving other people more time and space as well. If we're more at peace, we'll start to see more peace in others and in the world as well. So it really is something that connects our practice with everyone else in the world, essentially, but especially those close to us. And it's about recognizing how powerful that connection is, because meditation can be such an inward solo experience. It's nice to recognize how that does ripple out through the community. And reflection is something we do here as a group. We talk about what happened, and we might then get some fresh insight into it. We might realize that we were talking to ourselves a certain way. We might recognize that, oh, perhaps today I'm more stressed because of this. And, the insights are unlimited. When we reflect on what's happened with a kind attitude, we often deepen our insight, deepen our experience. Now, we do that, in a group that's led by me as the facilitator. But when we're doing it on our own, one habit to get into, really helpful habit, is just to spend a few moments, if you're meditating on your own, afterwards, just writing a few questions down. Maybe, what did I notice in that practice? And write down what you notice. How do I feel about that? Does this tell me anything? Did I notice anything else? Did I notice physical sensations? Did I notice emotions? Did I notice habitual thinking patterns? It's just a way that we look into and deepen our insight and experience. So I want to talk a little bit more about the attitude, because this is the chunk of our practice today. Attitude in mindfulness is reflected in the definition. And I know I repeat this every week, but the definition of mindfulness is knowing what's happening while it's happening without preference. So the knowing what's happening while it's happening is what our intention is in the practice. We're aiming to be present in this moment with what's happening, what's unfolding in our experience. Are we resting with the breath? Are we lost in thought? Are we experiencing difficult emotions? Are we experiencing some pain? And this is about being aware, knowing. It's an awareness thing. It's not about knowledge. It's about a present moment observation of what's happening. Then the last bit is where the attitude is. It's without preference. Now, it's quite hard for me to really word this, because there's layers to it. When we're talking without preference, what we're really saying is mindfulness is being without preference about our experience. Yet we know it's the nature of the mind to habitually judge and label and have preferences. So what's probably more of a accessible or inviting phrase is to say, we're aware of our preferences as they unfold? Are we aware of our natural judgments, of our natural tendency to move toward what feels good and to move away from what doesn't feel so good? And this can really, really start to deepen the benefits that we get from a meditation or mindfulness practice. When we have enough awareness to notice what we're constantly running from or to, unconsciously, we can start to break those conditioned patterns, because we're all essentially running on some form of programming throughout the day. I don't know if you experience it, but I'll get through the day and I'll be like, I've just gone through the whole day without even realizing what I was doing and making decisions, based on some kind of subconscious desire to get something that I want from the end of the day. And maybe that's fine, a lot of the times it's okay, but sometimes we're doing it in a way that is less helpful for us and less helpful for the people around us. And we can look at things that we crave, things maybe that aren't so healthy for us. And these are ways of observing those conditioned patterns, if that makes sense. I waffled a bit then. So the power of mindfulness, and this is certainly for me, is we're turning up the light on those habitual patterns of conditioning that cause us suffering. If our programming says that it's not okay to feel anxious, when we feel some anxiety, we're going to push it away. We're going to tell ourselves we shouldn't be feeling it. We're going to tell ourselves we're bad because of it. Now, this is where the non-preference comes in, because it's a form of allowing and it's a form of kindness. It's a form of acceptance and non-judgment about ourselves and this moment. So right now, I'm feeling, maybe I'm feeling some anxiety in this practice, in this meditation. And it doesn't mean that I'm doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. Maybe this is a common one for me that I come back to, is my mind being really distracted. Okay, so I'm bouncing from one thing to another and I feel like a bad meditator. So I'm adding a layer of judgment or preference or expectation to this meditation. I'm saying this is a bad meditation, or I'm a bad meditator if I can't stay focused on the breath. And that's simply not what meditation or mindfulness is about. Mindfulness is about observing, right now my mind is busy. It's spinning around like a merry-go-round on all the things that have happened today. And that's okay. I'm not here to change that. I'm not here to force myself to be something other than what I am right now. And that's the liberation of mindfulness, is we allow ourselves to be as we are without preference. So this is like a scale. We've got allowing and accepting, and gradually we get better and better at that. So we're not expected to take on all the biggest things and the most difficult situations that are happening in our lives and in the world at the moment and go, I can just accept that. We build up with the little things, like, can I accept that my mind is busy? Can I allow myself to be anxious? Can I allow myself to be a little bit uncomfortable without having to touch my nose, without having to fidget around too much? And we're working on that subconscious system of preference. And it's that system that drives us through life and our choices, constantly pushing us in the direction of whatever our subconscious desires are. There's a quote from Jung, I think Carl Jung. He says, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives and we will call it fate. Until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives and we will call it fate. So much of our experience is going on under the surface and we don't see it, but mindfulness helps us to turn the brightness up on it. So that is that. I think I'll just read through this. Yeah, so just to summarize, really, we're looking today at the attitude, which I've just spoken about. We're doing our best to bring in some acceptance, allowing, and non judgment. It's like, okay, whatever's happening, we can form a relationship with it. And in mindfulness, we're encouraged for that relationship to be compassionate, kind, accepting, and understanding. Then, when we've closed the practice, we offer the benefits of the practice to the community, or we acknowledge how our practice affects the community. And then we reflect on the practice by looking back with it at it and seeing what did we learn? What did I learn from that? What did I find out about myself? So today with the practice, has anyone got any questions before we begin on anything I said there? No? Okay, cool. So we'll go into the practice now. This is going to be the same as what we did last week, but instead of using the breath to rest with, we're going to use sounds to rest with. It's just to give us another tool, another experience. We've used the body in the grounding session, we've used the breath in the last resting session, and we're using sound today. All of these are things we can experience without the mind. We don't need the mind to experience sensations. We don't need the mind to experience the breath. And we don't need the mind to experience sound. It's just there. It's just here. So another reason why we're using sound today is because it's very easy in the meditation to have strong preferences about what sounds are welcome and what sounds aren't. So this is a great one to do. And I actually hope that we have some distracting sounds in the background. Maybe an annoying neighbor or a pet or a family member that doesn't know that we're meditating or something like this. So we can experience how quickly the mind jumps on those sounds. No, I wish you a peaceful meditation. Inevitably, there will be things. So we'll run through it. We're starting with the posture. And we'll use the bell to begin the practice. I may even use it throughout the practice. Allowing that bell to guide us into our posture, to guide us back home, here, into the body. An awareness of our posture. Noticing the weight of the body fixed to the ground or the chair or whatever we're resting on. And perhaps offering some straightness to the spine without striving. And allowing the shoulders just to relax down either side of the spine. And just sending out a message to the body that it's okay to let go, it's okay to relax now. And if we feel like we have to change our posture, that's absolutely fine. If we need to move but we do with awareness. We move with an awareness of what's driving us to move. Is it necessary? And we don't just forget about our posture now. Our posture is something that we're consciously aware of throughout the whole practice. Is this posture allowing me to maintain relaxation? Is it allowing me to be relaxed? Is it allowing me to be alert? Is it cultivating awareness, or is it falling below awareness? Or are we striving so hard with it that it's agitating the mind? So, bringing to mind our intention for the practice. It's our intention today to look at the attitude of our practice, the attitude and preferences of the mind, the habitual judgments, and seeing if we can bring some ease and acceptance into that experience. And then investigating how we close the practice with the dedication and reflection. So our intention is to look at those three elements, and our motivation is very personal. This is our reason why we're here today. What is it that brought us here? And there may be more than one reason, or there may be no knowable reason. And whatever our intention and motivation is, we let them go. We drop any expectations of how the practice should go. This isn't a form of measuring or evaluation. This is moment by moment awareness of what's happening. And there's no wrong turns. We can't get it wrong. And it's helpful to settle the gross distractions of the mind by bringing our awareness to the breath. Noticing the breath in the body where we feel it the most. Where's the breath most obvious? Is it the nose, the belly, or somewhere in between? And then we just observe the natural breath for a moment. It's our intention just to stay with the breath, to stay with the sensations of the breath. It's a form of focus. And we're invited to deepen and soften the breath so that the inhale and the exhale are a similar length. And we can count to 3 or 4 on the inhale and then match that on the exhale. Or we can visualize the waves of the sea coming up the beach on the inhale and then falling away from the beach with the exhale. And we're doing our best just to tune in to the breath, the nice even flow of breathing. So breathing and counting, or breathing and waves. And using our awareness to recognize when we've wandered and just gently returning back to this breathing and counting. And starting to just let go of any controlling of the breath, allowing it to return to its natural rhythm, letting go of counting, letting go of the visualization. And we lend our awareness to the sensations of the exhale. Observing how the body relaxes as it lets go of the breath. The natural relaxation response. And we allow that awareness to sink deeper into the body, all the way down to the surface contact with the ground or the couch or whatever we're on. So we're picking up the sensations, the energy of the object that we're resting on. That connection. Noticing that this is the base of the mountain. And we can scan up through the body in whatever way suits us, becoming aware of any sensations from the lowest part of the body, making its way up to the top. Just observing the patterns of energy, the patterns of sensation. Up through the hips, through the belly and the back. Shoulders and arms and hands. And the head. Can we feel the body? We don't need to think. We don't need to imagine. There's direct awareness of the sensations of the body, however they appear. And it's an opportunity to look again at the posture. Is it serving our practice? Are we striving? Can we let go? So the body is solid like the mountain on the ground, and the mind is free and clear like the sky. And here we rest. And we notice what's happening. So what's happening right now, in this moment? Are we thinking? Are we feeling emotions? Maybe lost in thought? Maybe aware of an uncomfortable sensation? And for this practice, we will rest with the support of sound. Can we bring awareness to the field of sound around us? So we're opening and receiving the sound. We're not searching for it. We're just aware of hearing. It's the nature of hearing. So hearing is at the very center of our experience, our awareness. and it extends boundlessly around us. And whenever the mind runs off, we simply acknowledge that the mind is thinking, the mind is lost in thinking, and we gently encourage our awareness back into this field of sound, this awareness of hearing. And can we allow all of the sounds that are present to be as they are? There's no right or wrong sound, only thoughts about the sound. Hearing itself is a raw experience of the senses. And it needs thoughts to judge, to label. And this is where preference comes in. Maybe a very subtle form of preference. Might be that we respond with ease to certain sounds, and we contract at certain other sounds. Can we notice that? We notice that preference, either direct mental labeling or more subtle energetic attraction. Just open, receiving sounds in their rawest form. With an awareness of how the mind labels, judges. And that's not wrong. It's just what the mind does all by itself. That's what it's for. That's what it's good at. And maybe we've not noticed any sounds so far. Maybe we've been gone. And none of that's a problem. We're here right now. It's this moment of awareness that's precious. this moment of aliveness. It's all there is. And we open and we rest back to receive the field of sound. Can we notice if the mind is labeling sounds as welcome and unwelcome, as good or bad? Or maybe it's not noticing any sounds, maybe it's just very quiet. What does the mind say about the quietness? Does it prefer quietness? Noticing the transient nature of sounds, arising and falling, arising and falling, the sound of my voice, here and then gone, leaving behind the openness of hearing, the aliveness of hearing. And as we come toward the end of our practice, there's an opportunity to really connect with this process of dedication. And it might help to bring a hand to the chest, to the heart, maybe both hands. This helps us to connect with that feeling of touch, that feeling of connection. And just seeing if we can take a moment just to notice any of the benefits that have come about during this practice. Maybe just a little bit more awareness, maybe a little bit of insight or peace, relaxation or rest. Maybe we were able to practice acceptance during a very difficult practice. And taking a moment to notice how this practice can help everyone that we meet simply by nurturing a peaceful side of ourselves, by cultivating these attitudes of non-judgment and acceptance. How that spreads out through the community without any effort. And then using the sound of the bell, in the first one we can just notice the nature of the sound. We say the bell, but it's constantly changing from one thing to the next. It's not one thing. And as the sound fades away, we return our awareness to this space around us, this physical body that we're in. And we can start to mobilize the fingers and toes, giving them a little wiggle. We can move the body mindfully and gently in a way that nourishes it. And whenever we feel ready to, opening the eyes, and coming back to the group. So I'll stop the recording.